Yo, guys. Oops, sorry. I put in the background. Apologies. Yo, guys. It is Old Man G here, RDS, back again. I've got some wonderful guests on for our season review, as well as obviously reacting to the Cunha news. I've got obviously Rich from Red Devil United and Eddie's from Eddie's Football Talk Waffles. Both good friends, both United fans. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, they're doing all right. Obviously depressed still from Man United's situation, but end of the season. Let's come to chat a bit, and let's have a good show.
Good, great. So just to quickly get into it, obviously like, share, and subscribe to obviously Red Devil Studio, guys. Obviously bottom right corner. Make sure, obviously, for those watching as well, you head over to Red Devil United, which is Rich's channel, to subscribe, and we'll post that in the comments, and as well as Eddie Football's Waffles. Please go and support and subscribe to the channels as well. So this is obviously just sort of come in news-wise regarding Cunha. I mean, it essentially was a foregone conclusion, at least from what I could see anyway. Fabrizio has said, I think there was something because Ben Jacobs said that there was some issue about the installments that are being paid, but then not that long after, Fabrizio basically mentioned saying verbal agreement has been done, deal signed, here we go, confirmed. So I'm just going to obviously take sort of Fabrizio's word for it. But I'll start with you, Rich. Good signing for Manchester United. Is it going to work?
I think it's a good signing. I think a good first signing, if it is, or if we signed a player earlier, didn't we? But we get him now. But I think it's a good signing for Manchester United. I've been impressed with Cunha this season. I think one of the things as well is that once we're heavily linked to him, and we play Wolves, is obviously he's got a lot of ability. I think we've probably been looking at him more recently because of the links. But he was the best player on the pitch when one of the matches against Wolves. He completely did Euro a couple of times. He caused problems. I think he's a quality player. I like what he's done. And also you look at goal threat, assists as well. I think it's a really good signing. And I think potentially it's going to be a better fit for us than some of the players we've got at the club already. So I'm looking forward to it. Also, the right age, he's just hitting his peak possibly. So we could get a bit of improvement as well. So I think overall, it's only one player, but a lot of positivity regarding this as a first signing for me. I don't see lots of negatives. I've seen question marks about attitude, but if it's directed in the right way, I don't really have a problem.
What about you? That comes on to a good point, because I was actually worried about that kind of thing. Right, is the temperament. We all know what's going on. We know what's going on at Man United with the discontent. Right, the atmosphere is toxic. Right, so this player's got skills, but has he got the mentality to not get triggered by certain things that's going on with the player culture, the prima donna culture? Because some of the fights the guy's got in, he looks like he's hot he's quick to get to that hot temper. So
wasn't he the guy that
have to be a good man manager?
He take someone's glasses off or something. I remember. I think there was a match where he wasn't that why he got suspended. Someone's glasses. I can't remember, but
yeah. It was one of the staff on I forgot what team it was, but the guy looked like he was trying to stop the fight. Like, it didn't look like he was trying to provoke Cunha, and Cunha just snatches off his glasses. I couldn't believe that. So, hey, hopefully he's gone to some anger management classes or something, because got to sort that out.
And what about the fee? Because obviously, I mean, there's reports that United have a £100 million budget. How true of that is, I don't know. But 62 million for Cunha, is that, Rich? Would you say that's a reasonable price for him?
I think compared with I think it's probably market value for a player of that ability. I don't think we can get a cheaper. I don't think he's going to go for cheaper. I think it's a sensible price. I don't think we're getting a cheap deal. I don't think we're compared with we paid more for Rasmus Højlund last a couple of years ago, and we paid more for other players. It's similar to the Mount fee, Casemiro fee. I think it's decent value. I think it's it's not the cheapest deal, but I think in terms of Premier League goal scorers in the top 5, he must be quite high. I don't think you're going to get significantly cheaper. So I think it's overall decent value, and I think we're maybe that's one direction we're moving in. I think last transfer window and this transfer window so far, it feels like we're paying appropriate fees for the players we're getting.
I mean, for me, right, I'm just thinking like, I mean, currently I'm in a state of disillusionment, like with my support for this team, right, for the club, because obviously the Glazers, it goes without saying. So I'm, you know, I mean, it would take quite a few signings to even stimulate my support properly again, right? I'm thinking these guys have got to do some Roman Abramovich stuff, like when he was properly taking over Chelsea back in the day, about 6 core signings. Yeah, I know it's not realistic, but it's the kind of thing these guys need to do. I mean, being around the relegation zone it's beyond unacceptable. So just in isolation, I'll finish up on this. In isolation, that fee is good for what this guy should bring. Them goals, yeah, long range shooting, can dribble. That's a premium you're supposed to pay for that kind of player. So yeah, looks like a good price.
Okay, fair. Okay, so obviously watch this space, guys. Obviously we'll react and we'll see. Hopefully this is the one of many signings, but obviously for those where it's been broken that Cunha is a done deal to Manchester United. I think it's for the worst sort of kept secret. I mean, the only thing I'll say before we move on to the review is, does it worry anybody that no one else was really in for him? Like no one was really snooping around, or what do you think?
I don't think so, because he passes the eye test, like in terms of the football, like we're just saying about goals and assists and all that kind of stuff. It's not like he's a Mason Mount or a Hoyland, where you're like, this is an unknown quantity. With Mount, he's a known quantity, but you can see he was off form. Why did they get him for a similar price? Right, it was 60 million.
Idea.
That was ridiculous.
To explain that, but then everyone seems to love Mount. This is the thing. Ruben Amorim loves Mount. Everyone loves Mount, but I don't really. I'm not saying he's trash, but I just don't really understand what is so great about him that everyone seems to love him. But anyway,
I mean, when he was on form for Chelsea, I would say, yeah, cool. Kind of would make sense, but he wasn't. So, yeah, it just turned out to be a bad signing. Yeah, that's all I got to say on that.
Yeah, I think with this, it depends on like different teams have different requirements, don't they? At Manchester United, we're looking at trying to sell wingers, we're trying to get 10s, and it just feels like this is what we're prioritizing. So there might be other teams potentially looking for him, but I think all the news we pretty much saw, wasn't it? Manchester United pursuing the deal for a long time now. Cunha putting out noises that he was happy to go. I just don't know if there's any other Premier League team that actually wants to play like Cunha at the moment. Manchester United, we need this player put in more than most teams. So I don't really worry too much. That, like Eddie said, I watch the game, all Manchester United games, and I watched highlights in other games that Wolves play. But against us, you know, what doesn't he do well? He gets goals, he gets assists. He's difficult to get the ball off, really difficult. He wins free kicks in dangerous positions, and he was the best player on the pitch when we played against Wolves. Like, what more can you say? You just looked at him and thought, I'd much rather him in my team week in, week out, watch him play, because I think he's got a little bit of quality, isn't he? The fact he doesn't concede possession stupidly against us as well is a positive, and the fact he's got an end product, for me, it's an exciting signing. Let's hope we get some better players to play alongside him, though, because he can't do it on his own.
Is this true? So Arsenal tried last minute to get in the race, but had already made up his mind up on United. I mean, it's possible. I mean,
that's a positive, isn't it? Like when a player's coming out saying, "Look, I'm not interested in Arsenal," and Arsenal, get to the latter sort of stage of the Champions League in a title race for 3 years, so he could quite easily have jumped to Arsenal if he wanted to. So that's a positive, I think.
Where would he have fit in that team though? Because he's a 10, right? They don't really actually hold on.
Maybe where Odegaard is.
I was gonna say. I was getting a little bit confused because I was thinking Arsenal play with the 6 and 2 8s. Is it two 6s and a 10 they play with? Actually, sometimes they change it up, don't they?
Yeah, they do change up sometimes. They would play what? Partey would hold, Odegaard be further forward, and then I guess
Rice would be an 8.
Yeah, Rice would probably play as the 8. Yeah, with Odegaard obviously is in the 10 role. Yeah,
I'd say maybe you could have gotten to the Arsenal team in the 10, but are they really trying to drop Odegaard? So yeah, I'm not sure about that link.
I mean, he's not been getting a lot of he's been getting a lot of criticism, Odegaard, recently. Yeah. So especially in sort of big games. So maybe it was just because aside from Odegaard, I don't know who I don't know who the competition is for Odegaard in the Arsenal sort of 10 position. I don't think there is any, as far as I'm aware, obviously Saka and those things, they've got wide players, but do they have any actual number 10s that would compete with Odegaard? I don't think so. Not that I know of. So.
No, not really. I think that they'd have to like patchwork Havertz or Marino into there.
Yeah, and they're probably getting sold off somewhere. So big up everyone in the chat as well. By the way, I see you, Solo, Matty, Rajat. Good to see you. So, and we want, and as we go into this scene, I want us to sort of be interactive, obviously, with the community as well. Obviously, we're going to give our thoughts, but please let us know, obviously, what you think as well. We'll come back. We'll obviously react to some of the, if there's any transfer news or stuff that's breaking, like, I don't know, Delap news or whatever it is, we'll obviously react to that just sort of briefly. So, but we'll go to the season review now. So I'm gonna do this, and hopefully everyone can see that now. This is a tier list, and as you can see, we have untouchable, which, as we discussed before we went live, I think there's not going to be that many people in this category here. Squad player, as in, they can stay, it's fine, we need them in the squad. Loan, I do think that there's room for certain players that, and I don't think that for loan, it's also that realistically, can we actually get a person to buy this particular player, or maybe they're young, etc. So loan is here, self-obvious reasons, and leaving as in players that just sort of left, which would be fairly self-explanatory. But before we actually get into that, ranking the players, I mean, I just want to go to Rich first and Eddie. Just what was your overall thoughts on just what that season was? Just what do you think?
It's pretty well. If you look at the Premier League, it's pretty much a disaster almost from like game one, wasn't it, for the whole season? No back-to-back wins. I lost any sort. It was really difficult to see any positives in the Premier League campaign as a whole, and it's. We keep saying this, and it was the worst Premier League season I've ever watched in my lifetime for Manchester United. And I have discussions with my dad, and a generation older. He's saying, again, we were having this conversation. It's the worst strikers we've ever seen at the club since like the 60s, and I think it really was that bad. That the Europa League was almost like a nice distraction, wasn't it? At one point, where we're looking at it and thinking, yeah, at least we got some teams we can beat. And I think that didn't really paper over the cracks for me. It just showed that maybe the Europa League, that other leagues don't have the depth that the Premier League does. But in terms of Premier League competition, it's the bread and butter. I felt like we took it too lightly, too early. Like the last few games, I could like fair enough, but it felt like we just didn't really compete in the Premier League like the whole season. And like Van Nistelrooy was the only manager really where we seemed to play different football and it worked better. But admittedly, that was a couple of games against Leicester. But it left me feeling, like with this sort of list, it left me thinking, like, I'm happy to see almost every player sold and moved on to completely rebuild. And when people say, "Oh, let's keep this player," I think you need to look really hard and think, where do we want to be in 3 or 5 years' time? And if that player doesn't fit, move them on and get someone different. Because I think it's difficult to make an argument to keep many of them at all. Sorry if that's too negative, but 15th, this many defeats. I'm trying to be like polite and say I don't think the players give up. I know people think the players give up. I don't think the players don't try, but I think you can tell that once we get to a certain stage, it's almost like on the beach, isn't it? I think if we didn't have the Europa League, we might see something different. But the Europa League was definitely, in like terms of lineups and player effort, it was definitely like the focus for the last couple of months, if not longer. Which is that's poor.
If you're looking at like the squad on paper, right? It's not. We know it. It's not as bad. They shouldn't be as bad as 15th. I'm thinking they should have been able to do both competitions, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot on this squad as well. Like just remembering like how much they spent on like De Ligt and Mazraoui, as Dorgu. There's some reinforcements. I know that's crossed over 2 managers, right? So it's a bit of a smorgasbord of talent there, where certain styles are not fitting, but. Yeah, these guys should have been able to handle more than one competition, right? Not saying that they should have been destined to win, but there's so much to go over. Rich has gone over quite a bit there, right? I'm just I'm just so confused since ever since Ten Hag. If you guys cast your minds back to when we beat Barcelona in Europa League, right? Is that 2 seasons ago now? Right?
Yeah.
Look, that was a great game, a great tie over 2 legs, especially the leg at the new camp, right? We were playing football in phases. We looked like we were coached. I was thinking this is the return of Man United, right? Look where Barcelona are now, right? I think in terms of our trajectory, we look like we were on a better trajectory. I think at that moment when we beat them, right? So for this to kick on to, I don't know what the hell's gone on this season, but Ten Hag has warmed up this team to be this bad in the league. Because last season, Ten Hag was setting records, wasn't he, for how bad the team was doing, and now it's even worse. So Ten Hag is to blame a little, well, quite a bit for this season. But just to finish off anyway, because Rich went through quite a bit. The whole it just seems like the club is still doing this kind of subterfuge where they're branding this a rebuild, but all I see is that these managers that come in, they're still trying to do too much already, like do too much quickly, like the quick fix kind of thing, instead of trying to focus on getting the formula right in the league. They're trying to play the best team in all the competitions, trying to win everything rather than focus on priorities, man. Right? Because if the managers like Ten Hag and Amorim were focusing properly, the football surely wouldn't be this bad. I mean, if you look at how many interviews that Amorim's had, are you telling me he's had enough mental space to think of tactics? Right? So many interviews, so many things he's got to do for the press. So yeah, they've got to change the culture at the club. Obviously, the Glazers love the interaction with social media and with the media. They've got to really start to protect these professionals and have them focus more on the football. So unless that changes, we're going to see more of the same.
No, I don't disagree with that. So without further ado, let's get started. This might be very, very quick. I thought this might last for like.
Is the cell button big enough? We might need a double section, possibly.
Yeah, maybe we might have to put a double section.
Yeah, I think actually we might be surprised, but I think we might be surprised by how many players are leaving as well. So when people talk, like, regardless of sales, like sales and leaving might add up to quite a lot of players.
The first one is one Andre Onana.
So he's got to be untouchable, right? Am I right, guys?
Yeah, of course.
Can't even joke about that.
Of course. It's. I mean, okay. I've been someone. I've been someone. I'll give my finger on Onana. I've been someone that although believes that Onana isn't good enough. I've also said that I do feel at times that he's been made a scapegoat. Because I don't think that the reason why we are 17th or 15th in the league is solely based on Onana. Especially because a lot of the games this season, to be honest, I can't think of many games this season where we conceded more than 2+ goals, 1 to 2+ goals in the league, as far as I'm aware. There may have been 1 or 2, but I can't remember many. So there is a part of me that says, well, if you had Onana, but you had, peak Rooney, Van Nistelrooy, Ronaldo, whatever it is in front of goal, and you were scoring 2-3 goals a game, Onana's mistakes, or as it were, and there are mistakes, so wouldn't necessarily be as costly. I'm not saying not important, but I just think that if it was me and I were going into this transfer window, my priority would definitely be sorting out the forward line. And then
just one point on that, RDS. Sorry, just one point on that. Yeah, it would depend on how we're playing, because if you remember, like the way Onana does his distribution, would people like Rooney and all them guys you mentioned, would they even get the ball? This guy, his distribution is horrible. The other team just get the ball back.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's, like I said, I'm not saying that like he's not part of the problem. So, but like the amount, but at the same time, like I think this season, compared to even the previous season, we created a lot of chances this season. Like I think we actually created. When I watch United games, anyway, I found that when I was watching games, like the amount of chance that we created was far more than it was in the last 2 seasons, where we would often criticize and say, "Oh, we can't create for our forwards, we can't create for our attackers, we can't get into positions, etc." I felt this season, a lot of time we did actually get into good positions, we did get into chances, but we just couldn't finish. Or we'd make the wrong decision. Instead of passing the ball to the right, someone would be selfish and then they would not score or something. So it was the amount of times it was frustrating as time when we'd watch a game and we play like that for 70 minutes or however many minutes in the first half, and then in the 70th minute or whatever, we'd concede a goal because of a defensive mistake. And I'm like, yes, okay, Onana made that mistake or the defensive error was there. But it's like, but couldn't we have put away the 1, 2, 3, 4?
Yeah, I think it's like when you lose 1-0 and you lose 1-0, you think, all right, do you blame the goalkeeper? Because watching Manchester United from like the 90s through the 2000s, there's lots of times we won matches 3-2, 4-2, 4-3. I think one thing that annoys me a bit is, okay, let's say Nana makes an error that leads to a goal, and he still makes way too many of those. But over the whole season, if you're looking like 6 or 7 errors leading to goals, which is that's far above what David De Gea ever got. That's 6 or 7 goals over a whole season. And you look at our defensive record and go, okay, our defensive record is actually, if you go to teams above us, it's actually better defensive record than Brighton. It's pretty close to Aston Villa. It's not different. It's actually better than Brentford. And these teams are like significantly better than us in the league. I think the difference between a top quality goalkeeper and Onana is probably 5 to 6 goals in the Premier League, maybe 6 or 7. Or maybe you could argue 10 because sometimes he parries shots and you could count that. But the difference between the strikers we got and a top quality striker is double the amount of goals for me. Like if we've got a striker that scores 4 goals in the Premier League and the other striker gets 3, I mean, that's the sort of goals that if our midfielders got 20 years ago, we'd think, okay, that's really rubbish. So the biggest difference is scoring goals. And I think if Onana makes a mistake, there was a game in Europe where I think Costa made a couple of mistakes and Onana might have made a mistake. If we win the game like 3-1, 3-2, no one cares about them. It's not talked about, is it? But when we concede 2 chances, one of them results in a goal, and we have, say, 10 chances, we can't score 1, everyone just goes, right, bloody hell, Onana should have saved it, etc., etc. But you think, like, we had like 4 chances, we could have scored 1, couldn't we?
I hear what you guys are saying. Sorry to just interrupt them. It's like you're doing a bit of defense for Onana here, right? And it's just like, when you see Onana's diving, we've seen his fundamentals just don't pass behind this.
No, I think it's just that, like, I think
I'm not defending him. Believe me, I don't think Onana should stay at all. What I'm saying is that the difference between him and he does get blamed because it's easy to blame one person, isn't it, in the team?
And we would do, and United fans remember we were doing this for De Gea as well. A lot of people saying De Gea wasn't good enough, and he was making certain mistakes. It's just that I just don't see. Yes, we can definitely get a keeper that's better than Onana that makes, say, less mistakes. But let's say he makes, say, instead of 6, makes 3. If we still don't have a striker that's at least able to score 15 plus goals a season, how much better actually are we? You probably go from 15 to maybe 10th, 11th, 12th, like, because we're not scoring any goals, And I know Højlund is young. I think Joe, his comment is actually fair. He says, lads, what are your general points on Højlund? I'm actually curious. I think when the ball is over the top to him, he's fine part of last season, but we're back to goal doesn't seem to work. I
was just going to say real quick, that I don't see how he's still backing into defenders. Like, it's really weird, like that. Amorim's not. I mean, how shouldn't that be easy to coach out someone and say, like, you should say, can you find the space? Yeah, can you, at least attempt some dynamic runs? Remember when Maguire's gone up front sometimes? I've seen this guy show more fundamentals in terms of pointing to where he wants the ball. Isn't that basics of a form?
Make a case that McTominay was a better number 9 than Højlund this season. I mean, talk about
a ball striker. I'd argue.
So I got Rich.
I was going to say, Harry Maguire versus Chelsea attacked the space between the defenders and finished like it was offside by like a millimeter, but it was. I was looking at that thing. That is a finish. I don't think Rasmus has done that this season, has he? It was a clinical finish. But I thought McTominay also makes more intelligent runs, and he knows when to run, where the danger is, and he's also quite a clean ball striker, isn't he, McTominay? He is a good finisher. I think sometimes Rasmus gets. I think what he does is maybe he almost like moves too early, so that when people are looking to cross, Rasmus is like it's almost like he's marking defenders, isn't it? He's just there next to the centre backs. You think we can't really do much, and he gets eased off. It's not worked at all, and I don't see it improving, to be honest.
I'd say one more point on Højlund is that I think some of it obviously is going to be the mental side, because he wasn't this bad that season when we were in the Champions League. Like there was some finishing he was doing in the group stage that I thought was good. I remember a chipped goal that he did. I was like, this guy's got some fundamentals. But now he doesn't even look like he can even shoot the ball properly. Like it's got something to do with the pressure as well. Like I know that's
is it due to the physicality of the Premier League? Is that something to have? Because we did obviously notice he played different and better in Europe than we did in the Premier League. And people say, is it because, the Premier League is more physical, so maybe Højlund can get bullied a lot more, isn't allowed to run, whereas in Europe he's allowed a bit more space, he's able to sort of run around a bit, he's able to, is that a fair comment?
But this is the thing though, like this is where you can be a bit smarter, like how I was saying, you could try and find the space more, right? If you're making good enough runs, you don't have to be shoulder barging or backing into anybody, right? We've seen small players do well. We've seen people like Aguero hold their own up front. He's quite small, you know what I mean? Low center of gravity, knows how to use his body. It's about knowing how to use your body too. This guy, what is he, 6 foot plus? There's got to be a way, and he's still young. There's got to be a way where you can put muscle on in the right places and actually know how to interact with players, man. I mean, I expected more of Amorim so far, so disappointed with that.
So where are we putting, and also asking to the chat, where are we putting Onana? I'm assuming we're putting Onana in the soul category, right? Or a cell. Yeah, okay. This is an interesting one. Matswari, because obviously he did come in this season. And I actually think he started, certainly under Ten Hag, and early stages of him actually quite well. But in Amorim's kind of system, in this, sometimes he plays him in the back three. Increasingly, he's putting him in the wing back position. I don't think it's really worked in the wing back position, but in the back three, it's been fine. Where would you say? Where would you put Matswari in the whole picture?
I'd say squad player, right?
Okay.
Because like you said, right, there's some positions where he's doing all right, like when he's in the did you say like right side of the fence and like centre back?
Yeah, in that back three role, I think that's probably it's since
it was our best back three, wasn't it, for a while, when we had, was it Yoro De Ligt and Mazraoui was like probably our best back three for a few games, and I think one of them got injured, but no, quite versatile as well. I don't think he's ideal as a wing back, but he's played a lot of games. I think he's a good player to have. I certainly wouldn't be selling him on. He was quite cheap as well, wasn't he? He's somewhat of a good deal, I think.
15 million, I think it was. Yes, it wasn't even that much. Yeah.
So yeah, as a like steady sub, he'll be all right, I think.
On there, De Ligt obviously was obviously starting quite for us, although he did obviously get injured, so picked up a few things. Is De Ligt an untouchable?
Nah, not untouchable for me. He's had some shaky matches. I'm trying to remember specifically, but yeah, the thing is, like when he's played certain games, I remember he was doing well for he had a patch of form during like the early part of the season, and then I'm trying to remember what game where like he kind of showed his weaknesses. What was that team where I think it was? Did we play Porto this season?
We did play Porto this season in the Europa League.
Yeah. Porto, wasn't it? Yeah. Do you remember the away game where they kept putting crosses in, and then De Ligt was handling the headers?
Oh yeah,
first half, and then he just started losing the headers. So it's like he's got some weaknesses to his game, right? But I'm just trying to remember, like near the end of the season too. He's just kind of average. I think he's a squad player for me.
He's got some strengths. Like there was a couple of games where he's putting really long crossfield balls. I think it might have been passing to Mazraoui or Dallo on the left, but he had accurate passing. But I think he's one of these players where this season and maybe next season is one that's going to be in the squad. But you look at Aiden Heaven and you look at Yoro and think that's kind of our future defence. So I think De Ligt's going to be like a younger version of Maguire and Lindelof, those sort of defenders, less mobile but good in the air. And I think he's steady at the moment. But for me, he's going to be he's probably going to be in the first team a lot. I think,
it's untouchable.
Sorry,
the only thing I've got,
he's only 25 or 26. Like he's
so
he's not actually old.
Around a lot of clubs, isn't he? The only worry I've got is a little worry is like Eddie said, he was coming into some form, looked quite good. There was a game where I think he might have been, was he the match winner? He scored a couple of headers in a few matches.
Yeah,
but then he's had a few injury spells, which makes me a bit concerned because they kind of add up a bit. So he missed a few games here, a few games there, and I could say that against about all the defenders. I do get a bit worried that a lot of our defenders are picking up injuries. So De Ligt for me was like, no, he's definitely in the first team, I think, next season. But in the future, I think Amorim might have different kind of profiles in mind. That's my thoughts.
So we're putting him in squad player then, essentially.
Yeah, good signing though overall from last season. I think was it 50 million for the two players or something like that?
I think so.
Yes, yeah, because we paid more for De Ligt. I remember it was definitely paid more for De Ligt than Mazraoui. So I think 50 million. So I think it was 35 for De Ligt and then probably 15 for Mazraoui, something to that effect. That's true. He did give quite a few penalties this season too, so that wasn't really ideal. So now a player who, again, this will be an interesting debate because he's been injured for a while. Lisandro, I forgot about Lisandro, to be honest. So, but he probably will be back. He's still probably getting some, and of course, when we're saying all these things, you've got to remember that the World Cup is next year, so there'll be a lot of players that will be either wanting to, if they're not going to get game time, wanting to move so they can play themselves into the World Cup team, or they're wanting to obviously sort of stay fit, you know. So I imagine someone like Lisandro, who's Argentinian, will want to obviously be playing at the World Cup, and so will probably try and make himself fit. But
what was his injury, by the way? That latest one, was it a knee injury?
I think it was knee. I think yes.
So that'll be the second knee injury, won't it?
Was it cruciate ligament or something? It was quite a serious one, wasn't it? I wasn't expecting to see much of him until later this year.
Yeah, this is what makes me concerned now because that's the second one of a serious injury he's had. So how fit is he gonna how good is he gonna be when he returns? Like he's gonna be because remember when Van Dijk came back right from that knee injury? It took him ages to get back to form. This guy's had two.
I said, I suspect that with the World Cup year coming on, there'll be a lot of players that will want to maintain their fitness and not be injured for the sake of trying to get into the World Cup squad. I'm not sure because Lisandro will probably be there as a centre back, but I don't know whether, for example, Romero from Spurs is knocking on the door, etc. So,
of course, man, you're a Europa League winner.
Yeah, first team. Exactly. So he thinks that like there will definitely be a push from him to stay fit. But I guess the question is, with the amount of centre backs that we have, and with obviously Amorim coming in, do you guys still see him as a squad player, or do you think that maybe he should be moved on? Maybe we can get something.
I think he's sellable, you know, RDS, because do you remember like there was several games where he's playing that left centre back role and he was just getting exposed on the Amorim. Like I thought it would be he would go up another level with having extra centre backs next to him, and he's left footed, right? I only really remember the one good game against Liverpool that he had. He might have had a few other ones, but he's just I don't know. Like I said with the injuries, I'm worried about that, right? So I would say sellable. And you said there's a lot of centre backs there already. For me, Heaven can be fast tracked, you know. to have one of these.
Yeah,
positions.
Heaven was brought as backup, wasn't he, to Martinez to play on that side?
Yeah, but he looks
my
good.
opinion. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if this obviously what you've just said. Then I don't think this is controversial, but I had this opinion midway through the season before he got injured. Was I think we needed to sell him. Like I thought that on his best day, and I think actually what we saw this season was he was getting back to his best just before he got injured. So I think he'd got a few solid games just before the injury. I think he'd been a bit shaky the start of the season. But I was just thinking in terms of like long term, and I'm kind of looking like medium to long term regarding the squad. I'm thinking, do I see Martinez as a player in 2 or 3 years' time at Manchester United? And with 3 injuries now, all kind of similar and almost all getting progressively worse, I think Manchester United should look at what's happened with Shaw and go, right, we need to act a bit sooner. I think Martinez, we can get a better player as well. So it's not just down to injuries. I think I had this view that we should try and look for a better quality player as well, someone that's maybe better in the air. Also, he wasn't playing well at the time, but the injuries have kind of like convinced me that I think we need to sell him and just look to move on, because one of the best qualities of some of the defenders has got to be availability. I think if another injury, we don't even know what sort of player is going to be back, because it's an ACL injury. They're really serious, cruciate injury. It might not be before December, and because he's already had knee injuries, it might even be worse. So that's why I'm putting him. That's my view. It might seem harsh because he's injured, but we have to try and improve the team.
No, I think if we were, I agree. I think that if we were in a deficit of centre backs like we were to a certain extent last season, then I would have probably said, let's just sort of keep him around, So, but now that you've got, we signed De Ligt and Euro, but obviously Heaven has sort of come in. Maguire also seems to basically just. I'm not saying he's great, but like he's obviously stepped up and stepped into things as well. So there is a case for Lisandro to go, and maybe to use that money to sort of go elsewhere. So I think that's fair. Let's put him. Sorry, not in the sell category. Ahmad. I think
we know about that, don't we? We know what level he's at.
I mean, I think he's probably one of the. If there's gonna be a player that's gonna be an untouchable, he's probably one of the only players that I think that I would say that is in the untouchable, so especially in the right wing back position, not this number 10 stuff or whatever, but on that right wing back position when he's allowed a bit more to run it in. I can't think of many other players that. And that's not even to saying that I think Ahmad is like world class or anything. It's just that there aren't that many players in this Manchester United
in the short term. In the current squad, it's got to be there, hasn't it? I think in the long term, there's a conversation after the next transfer window. Maybe we see better players, but this stage of the situation has got to be. He's one of the most reliable players, isn't he?
Yeah, he's one of the most talented. I mean, like we don't have dribblers in the team, and he's one of the only ones that can do that. So he's pretty much gold dust in the team right now.
He also even though sometimes you lose it, I do like that Ahmad actually likes to take on people. It's something that I was surprised that Rashford and other 4 players just stopped doing for some reason, where they actually would take on people, they'd run at people and try and sort of against them. Ahmad does that quite a bit. Yes, I can appreciate you can lose the ball and do that, but at least keep on trying to do that, because you can succeed. But not a lot of our 4 players do that. Højlund definitely doesn't do that, although it's 9. Garnacho kind of does it sometimes. It's kind of on and off. Rashford just stopped doing it. So yeah, it's Dorgu. Dorgu when he's up.
I don't see the dribble there, bro. I'm disappointed with this guy.
He's not. He obviously he certainly has got the pace and puts crosses in, but yeah, I don't really see him to the same extent that Ahmad is doing on that side. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Rob, Ahmad's definitely not a starter. Yeah. We did have Kombala, but he wanted to go, didn't he? Thanks for reminding me, Step. Yeah.
I was disappointed that he went too. Oh, wow.
Where did Kombala go to again? Did he go to Forest? Where did he go to?
Don't know.
I think was it
But
Forest?
he looks good though. He looked like he has some potential, man. Like a bit like Heaven.
Mm.
He looked like he was a good young player. I think Heaven's better
though. Let me put. So I'm going to put Ahmad in. I assume we agree he's in on untouchable class for now.
Yeah.
Casemiro. What should happen to Casemiro? Because obviously Amram, from my, and then maybe because they're both Portuguese, etc. So, but it looks like I don't get any impression from Amram's side that Casemiro has got any danger of leaving anytime soon, unlike say Garnacho. So, but
I'd want him to go. I mean, he's just, you could see it for like just how he slowed down. The amount of times I've heard that he's got no legs left is just, it's too many times. He's I'm trying to look at some of his technical part of his game. There was a big part of the season where he's just almost turned into Bruno with his passing, like just launching grenades. And you're like, what's going on? How about the easy passes? Where's the 1-2s and stuff? So he's gonna stay, isn't he? So, but I'd want to sell him.
Yeah, I'd sell him, but I think it's impossible. I think Casemiro is staying because he's just going to run his contract down, then assess his options. I'd sell him, but he's not going to go, is he? So he's going to have to be. I don't think Amram's going to use him too much, unless he has to. But yeah, you can't give someone like a massive contract and then wonder why they won't leave. That's just something we need to learn from.
Yeah, that's an understatement, Rich, man. Because like when RDS mentioned Maguire, I know we're going to get to him. It's just the way he was able to stay and say, "Give me my 10 million," or how I forgot what the price was that he needed to get. It's like, come on, why have they got this much player power? It's crazy.
So would you put Casemiro in the? I mean, Rob says I think we should keep Cas a squad player for me. He's and Radisly's got a good form going on. So I mean, there seems to be a desire to put him in the squad player category. I mean, is that where you guys think he belongs? Or
for me, that would be just because no one's going to buy that contract.
Yeah, I think we're stuck with him. But I think if me and Eddie actually got the power to sell him, we would. Like you take the Europa League out of the equation next season, don't you? Where he was actually better, and you just give him Premier League matches week in week out, then we don't see him as good. So Europa League, he looked good against weaker teams, slower teams, but in the Premier League, it's not gone well.
Okay, I get with the combination of the chat and guys, let's put him to squad for now. I think Ericsson is quick because he's left, so we don't need to discuss that.
Cool.
So we're now on to Dallo, who I'd obviously, given that he's Portuguese, I'm not sure. I suspect he'll stay, but I do wonder where Dallo is going to fit. Because for starters, he's not going to play in the back three. Could he play on the right wing back position where Ahmad or Max Suarez? There's that. On the other side, obviously you've got Dorgu, but I keep on forgetting that we've got that 70-year-old coming from Paraguay that people that just completely forgotten. Leon, forgotten the full name. Is it not Leon Daly? It's Leon.
Is it Jago? Is it Jago?
Jago Leon or something like that. Yes, yeah, the 17-year-old from Paraguay coming in, which seems to be a signing that it looked to me anyway that it was going to be a first team signing, and he's a left wing back. So
sounds quite young though. He's going to start at 17.
He's 17. He doesn't look like a 17-year-old. The guys looks quite
we're going for more physical players, aren't we? I think with Diego Leon, I couldn't sit here and say how well is he going to work out. There's literally no. We have no idea, don't we, how he's going to work out in the Premier League at that age. Like he could be good, could take a bit of time. I think like with Dallo, I've never really been a massive fan of Dallo, and I think with this team, because he's not in the back three, you think is he a good enough wing back? Probably not, but is he going to be a squad player at the moment? I don't know. I don't see any links for us selling him. Although I do think weirdly it would be one player we could sell more able. Like he's got attributes other teams might want, but we don't really need. So it would make sense to sell him, I guess. He's always available. he's usually the thing I've got against him, and this will sound like I personally don't like him, but it feels like he's one player where he quite often makes a costly mistake in a match. Like early in the season, he gave away the penalty against Southampton, or he'll misplace something and put us into danger. He's usually dependable though. Like he's decent in terms of in possession, passing's okay, but I just don't think he's got the end product for a wing back. So
Yeah.
if he was just playing as a right back, I'd consider keeping him. But I think I feel like he's going to be a squad player, but I feel like in an ideal situation, we should probably sell him and try and buy a better quality wing back.
You know what? I think sometimes, when you see at certain clubs, like a player, even though he can still do a job, it sometimes just goes stale. Where it's like, okay, you've played, like he's been playing since Mourinho days. It's like, can we just see some refreshment, right? And then what Rich is saying about the mistakes, he's done that so many times, and then he will have some good games, but for me, he takes a step forward and a step back, and it's just that's too average to have that kind of player. So I'd sell him, and like Rich is saying, there will be some clubs that could do with that average level. They could do with that kind of player, but decision making when he cuts in sometimes and he's taking shots like he thinks he's Danny Alves. I'm like, no, you're an average right back, bro. He doesn't know his role.
Was it against West Ham where he missed like an open goal from about 2 meters? Was it West Ham this season? There was a game where
I don't even remember that. That sounds horrible, but I'm just talking about in general. The guy is shooting, and the amount of shots he takes. Yeah, he just takes the piss. He needs to go.
So we're in agreement that so the 70s is Dallo, like United team all season, best forms in Europa. So are we in agreement that sell Dallo?
Selling.
I'd sell him. He doesn't really suit what we need, does he?
Right. The big one. Bruno Fernandes. Obviously, there's the talk about the 100. Well, there's 100 million bid from Saudi. That's there. That give or take, whatever's going on. So this is the thing with Bruno. It's like, obviously, I would probably say no if there wasn't this offer, because he's captain. He's obviously even though I still think we can do better, but I can see why Amorim is the coach, blah, blah, blah. But now we've got the context of the fact that there's £100 million there.
I was on a Sophia's channel, Sophia's Football Talk. I was saying I'm taking that money, I'm running to the bank, and I'm not giving that team a receipt. Because for me, Bruno, I appreciate what he's done over his tenure. I see he's a in certain contexts, he's a good last action player in that final third. But I can't. And it's been talked about. I can't deal with the fact that he's not able to really conduct the game, right? Remember in the final, this Europa final, and this is not an isolated incident. He's given the ball away under no pressure. He did it twice, which led to that Spurs goal on one of the only counterattacks they had in the whole game. That summarizes, for me, his gameplay. Is he gives the ball away way too much, but then there's certain situations where he will come up with a goal to cancel out to cancel out the fact that he's been giving the ball away too much. So for me, he shouldn't be captain, and I would say thank you for your service. I'm taking that Saudi money. I'll say sell, right? I would even, and it'd be controversial, right? But I'm even taking like 60, something like that. I want different players that can control the game in midfield. So it'd be a sell for me, boys.
What do you think, Rich?
There's a lot to discuss with Bruno. I'll try and be like as concise as possible. But I think with Bruno Fernandes, you watch Manchester United game, and Bruno is over the 90 minutes the best and worst player, isn't he? He'll do something amazing, but he'll do something that's like ridiculous as well. That's just poor. I thought Spurs neutralised Bruno quite effectively. When Bruno was running through the middle, there was a Spurs player blocking him, so he had no chance of shooting. It forced him to go wide. He was quite ineffective then. He didn't really do much. And for me, the offer on the table, and I was doing a stream myself today talking about the Bruno situation. if Al Hilal are prepared to give Bruno Fernandes 200 in salary over 3 years, offer Manchester United 100 million, I would just say, right, if Bruno accepts 100%, I'll just go to them and go, right, 120, like just get as much as you possibly can because they got the money. I would just say, look, let's do an aggressive rebuild. And people say, like, what does Bruno Fernandes bring to the team? There's creativity, obviously the goals and assists are things, but I think Manchester United can improve as a team overall by getting different players in. Someone like that, someone that's maybe covers a bit more ground, a bit more careful in possession, and maybe the attacks instead of going all through Bruno, which I think makes us one-dimensional sometimes. Where it's like you stop Bruno, you stop the team. It feels like a bit like we need to get away from having a one-player team. And the example I give to people, because I do get people, I do have arguments, discussions, I'll call it, about this, and say, look, Van Nistelrooy was Manchester United's best goal scorer for like ages, but we were actually a better team with different players, like more team-oriented players. Like Rooney was a world-class finisher, but he was also a team player. And I think if you look at that, like not that necessarily that level, but more effective team players. So maybe the midfield players are going to be maybe better in possession. They're not going to have the output as Bruno, but maybe the tens will be more creative in the future. I think Manchester United can be a better team if they fix. Look at the team rather than the individual. I don't think you get a like Bruno replacement because he's a bit of a unique player, but I'm selling him just because. Also, this is the other argument. Real Madrid sold us Varane, sold us Casemiro, and they sold at the right time. And we bought on the downward. Like we're going to sell Bruno, and Bruno's trajectory is not up. He's going to be 31 in the summer. I don't think he's going to crash, but this is the best offer we'll get. Bruno will leave the club in a couple of years, regardless, I think, and we'll get zero money for him. So let's just take the 100 and say thanks, Bruno. Thanks for the trophies. Thanks for effort on the pitch, fantastic. But we just need to look at as a rebuild and go give Amorim as much. If we want to back Amorim, back him properly with getting the players he needs.
I'm just hoping Amorim's not saying that. Okay, I need this guy. He's my captain.
This is the thing. I mean, it's obviously going to be down to the player because obviously the player has to decide. So, but the amount that the Saudi people are offering. So, just FYI, Bilal, I can't read those super chats out. I'm just going to put that out there. So
I don't get.
I don't get it, but I can't read those super chats out.
I try to think it might be an inside joke, but I'm like,
it's not an inside. I don't know this, so I can't. So just put it out there. But I mean, you can still donate if you want. I'm not going to stop you from donating. I just can't read them out. So, but anyway, but yeah, I think the thing with it's still going to be up to the player at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, I just don't see how United can, as an organization, could basically turn down Champions League money. Because that is essentially the money for the Champions League. It's going to be 100 million plus. And you basically got that recoup from a player who, as you guys already said, is not going to get better. And we're never going to get a deal like this, like ever again.
When does this ever happen? Like, when does someone offer Manchester United like £100 million for a player that's like 30 or above? You just think, I just thought, is this serious? And you look at it, go, yeah, it seems legit. Just take it.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, yeah, I think they'll change that culture, because you got to be able to sell players. Like I said with the Maguire deal, just pisses me off so much. The way he's able to hold the club for ransom. Like Stephanie Griffiths saying, United players run their contracts down to nothing. It's like they've got the privilege just to stay as long as they want. They're like, what? Now you're the employees. You should be very disposable. Not, you know what I mean?
This is what we did under Alex Ferguson, isn't it? Like you're always looking for the next generation of talent. You look at what our team is and go, right, well, we're looking for the next generation. And like Bruno might be the best player on our team, by some people's opinions, but we're 15th. But the best player on a team that's getting 15th is probably not getting into most prime Manchester United teams. So I think we just need to move on.
Let me see. Where are we? So I think we're all in agreement that basically Bruno should go. Right, even more contentious. This saga is going to build up. Garnacho. Now, I opened up the debate. Like, is Ruben Amorim right to, because obviously he clearly wants Garnacho gone to be sold for combination reasons. Is he actually right? Should we actually should he keep him as a squad player, or I don't know, like what do you guys think? Because I'm not saying what Garnacho has done at times isn't right, but I am torn about selling a player who is 20, who's obviously got a lot of senior experience and has still the potential to get better for cheap, because Garnacho's the type of player who could potentially go to another club that will give him opportunities, develop him, etc., and then potentially become an 80 million, 90 million pound player in 5-6 years' time. So I don't know. I certainly wouldn't, in my personal opinion, if we're going to sell him, I certainly wouldn't be selling him for any less than 50, 60 million.
Yeah, that's why I wanted that Napoli deal to happen. That would have been 50 million, right? Just to talk on Garnacho for a bit. Yeah, I mean, I hear the hypothetical of he might go somewhere and then grow, right? But from what I'm seeing now, I just don't think the kind of toxicity that he's causing is even worth it. Is even worth trying to work with this kind of player. Remember when Amorim kept him out the squad near the start of this of his tenure? You can see this guy's a prima donna. He's got too much privilege, too much attitude for what he actually brings. Right? He's brought some goals and assists, but you see it a lot of the time, man. He's not that great with the dribbling, as RDS said earlier. Right? There's so many things where he's not being a team player, but he's not. It's not like he's a Ronaldo when he started out. He was kind of doing a few too many tricks and flicks, but then he saw him pretty much within a season work that out and become more of a team player.
Yeah, he evolved quite quickly, didn't he?
Really got into him, to be a team player. So for those are the kind of leaders that we obviously need, right? But with Garnacho, to come out straight after a final, right? Or his brother did anyway. It's like you've got to be talking to your brother and like make sure he doesn't do that kind of stuff, So I think he just causes more problems than he solves for me. Yeah, he doesn't suit the system too, so yeah, he should go.
Fine, right, okay. Oh, just a quick detour because I think mine's big up as well on Twitch. Thoughts on Promise David potentially joining United? He's a huge star on the rise with European clubs all looking for. Oh, even from Jonathan David from the Canadian. I did actually. I mean, because I remember talking about this yesterday. I did think I personally would prefer signing him over Delap, although obviously Delap has played in the Premier League, so there is definitely potential there because he's basically a free agent now, if I recall. So if United did want to make a strike option and Delap, because although we talked about Delap, I think the reason why it's delayed is because he's probably waiting on Chelsea or some other sort of team. They want Champions League football. So if he's a free agent and he's available and we need to get at least 2 strikers and his wages are okay, then maybe he's a good shout. I mean, any of you guys have any thoughts on Jonathan David and whether it would be?
I think haven't Napoli offered to put some offer on the table? It looked like they're trying to make some headway in signing him. I think it's strange that more clubs haven't been linked, considering it's like 20 plus goals over 4 seasons. It's decent numbers, and there's not loads of strikers out there. But I think Napoli were looking to push for the move. I'm not sure whether he's on Manchester. He was on a short list I saw a while ago, but I'm not sure if Manchester United. But the speed we're actually looking at other players, I think we probably wouldn't get round to him before he's moved anyway.
Yeah, I've not heard of this player to be honest. I'm literally on Google trying to look up his stats. The stats look good.
He's had 4 years, like decent amount of goals, isn't it? But no one's never really talked about him. I think Manchester United, they seem to have this idea recently that they just want to try and get as many players from the Premier League initially, like in this window, because they think it'll work out a bit quicker.
And it looks like he's at the Belgian league, isn't he? Right now, is that? I mean, what level is that? I'm not sure. Not sure about this guy. 23 years old, but like Rich is saying, good goals per game. I don't know. Yeah, obviously, like RDS is saying, you got to get another striker then, obviously, to make sure that there's a established one you're getting in, and then maybe you gamble on this guy as a secondary.
I think with Garnacho, though, I'd probably say sell. Like with Garnacho, he wants to leave the club. Always got the impression that Garnacho would eventually want to leave. So, like Eddie said, we can't worry what happens. And I think if you sell a player that's quite young, it's almost inevitable they're going to do better in a few years somewhere else anyway. But is he going to help Manchester United? I think in the short term, possibly, but in the end, he might want to leave anyway. And the drama seems too much, doesn't it? Like it feels like we need to just move him on just to rebuild as well. And it's decent money. It's not like we're talking about a small amount of money. That it could be like 50 million plus. So that's good money for the club.
And also, I think because he would be academy player as well, I think that when it comes to PF, if I'm recall the rules, etc., it will be like pure profits, so that will allow us to basically spend more.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think we're in agreement. He's in the sell category. I mean, Rashford. I mean, is there a way back for Marcus Rashford at all, or is it? I mean, it's clear to me that the relationship between him and Amram was broken down. But obviously, he's got a contract. He's on high wages. Is it really realistic? We're seeing the only thing I'm seeing is possibly maybe he goes to Barcelona if they can bring in something. It's you know, that we could maybe get something from that. I don't know, but I don't know. Like Barcelona is basically the only club where I could legitimately see Rashford cutting his wages to go and play. Is the point I'm trying to make. But anywhere else, I just can't see any other clubs with the. He's on what 300k a week, and then obviously United want a fee for him. I don't know. Like you could say we want him to go or not, but like how is he going to go? Like I don't know what you guys think. Like I don't get how we're going to move Rashford on unless say someone like a team like Barcelona, for example, comes in for him.
Well, I just don't get why players can't take like wage cuts, man. Like because if you know. I know you could counter me and say, "Oh no, that's in his contract. He's got to fight for the wages." But it's like, do you want to come back to United and be unhappy? Like, what do you measure your happiness in? Like, is it really worth trying to stay for that 300k? You know, so I don't know, man. I mean, obviously Villa, they're not trying to smash open their wage structure, are they? For 300k,
it's kind of difficult, isn't it? Where does Rashford go? That I actually thought if you go back a year, I thought Rashford might be a player that would suit Arsenal, not because he necessarily does the sort of things Arteta wants, but he's something different. So when Arsenal needs someone that's a bit more direct, then Rashford could be that player that is a bit quicker. But the price is a problem, isn't it? I think maybe maybe Rashford's attitude is a problem. So it's kind of like almost a difficult situation, isn't it? The clubs that can afford him are starting to look at younger players, aren't they? So Paris Saint-Germain, they've got Kvaratskhelia, and you could say Paris Saint-Germain built a really great team, a really nice to watch team, attacking team. And for the first time in years, I actually don't mind if Paris Saint-Germain win stuff. In the past, I've not liked the team, but they're quite likable. So I think Rashford. I think with as a general point, I think the structure of Manchester United and the culture, it feels like Ruben Amorim has been this almost like instructed to undertake a culture shift, and I don't think you can get Rashford back in the squad. I think you've got to draw a line in the sand. I don't know. I think Rashford's got to probably accept that, like Eddie said, Rashford's got a lot of money already. You got to pick. You got a short playing career left now. You got to just decide like where do you want to go and enjoy your football. Like just pick a club you might enjoy. And I think I was actually surprised that when there was offers on the table from some decent Italian teams, maybe it's worth going there on loan. Like he should have gone to AC Milan on loan, go to a big club like that, and play there just for experience. But it's tricky, isn't it? I think he goes from the club, but I have no idea where. Like the Barcelona one, if Barcelona weren't doing as well, I would have said yes. But they've just got a good team, haven't they? Do they want Rashford?
I mean, the only reason I mentioned it is because I know Deco, who's a sporting director, because mentioned it. He did say so. It's I wouldn't have mentioned the boss if Deco hadn't mentioned it and said, you know, we're looking at. But he listed like 1 or 2 or 3 and basically said if it's possible to be done, it will be done. So, but the only reason why I see that will be possible to be done is if one, United don't demand a massive wage fee, so probably be it will possibly be what's it called again? United will want at least 40 million for the guy, and then his wages would be cut. I mean, would Rashford? Because I don't know what's the high. Does anyone know what the highest player at Barcelona is earning? Because Rashford's on 300k definitely. Is anyone on Barcelona on 300k plus?
Probably like Barcelona's finances are a mystery, aren't they? So probably. Let's have a look who's in the squad. Wasn't like some of the players getting backdated salaries because of they didn't pay them during like COVID year. So I thought some of the salaries were ridiculous at Barcelona. So I don't think the wage structure would be a problem for him. I'm just wondering whether it's worth it.
Apparently, Lewandowski is the highest earner, but I can't see.
I imagine Lewandowski's quite a lot.
Yeah,
can't see the wage.
Lewandowski.
According to AI score, what would you say?
I just googled, and I think Frankie de Jong would be like about just over 200. Lewandowski close to 300.
Okay,
as an estimate.
Well, I'm getting a wrong one here. Then AI score. I don't know. I don't know how reliable AI score is, but they're saying 540k. I don't think is that.
Yeah, that sounds too much. Maybe it's a combination of different things.
It says it as well on teamtalk.com as well. The same wage.
Lewandowski can't be on 540k a week.
That's a lot, isn't it? But two sites are saying it. So
it sounds a lot.
Hey, it may be possible for Rashford to go there then. Hey, see you, Rashford.
Right, sorry, I know because Eddie, you've got to go soon, so I'll try and be a bit quicker. So I'll put it to here. Ugarte. The only thing I'll say about Ugarte is that do you feel that now that Amorim's come in that he really believes Ugarte is part of his plans? I still think it'd be a squad player, but I don't get the impression that especially because like he didn't come on in the final at all, which I thought was a bit odd. I thought it was a bit odd they didn't start. But the likes of Mount and Shaw, who had been injured for goodness knows how long, were in.
Yeah, somebody said that they thought he was injured because I questioned this. If he was injured, fair enough. If he was dropped, then I think that's pretty bad, isn't it? And he did sell him as a Sporting Lisbon manager. He sold the player as well, so you could make that argument that no, it's not. He wasn't here when he was signed. I think he's a squad player, though. I don't think we can look at selling him because we just haven't got other options. I think he's a useful squad player.
Well, isn't it like for the profile of these centre midfielders, right? Aren't they supposed to be like people that can do carry the ball, defend, do a bit of both?
They've got to be quite mobile, haven't they? I wonder whether he wants someone that's like Ugarte, but a bit better going forward, like a bit more.
Yeah, because I was just going to say, Rich, like that, we've seen how bad Ugarte is in terms of doing stuff progressively. You just really, you see how rough he is, man. Like the guy is like a gangster in terms of the way he destroys. Like that seems to be the only thing he can do. He scored a goal. I like the goal he scored against Everton, but it's like that's going to be the exception to what he can do, really. So, I mean, selling someone this early after he's just come, I don't see it happening, really. So, I reckon
I don't think he will, but I don't know. I just get the impression it just feels like, just like with Mainu and with Ugarte, it just in recent, and maybe it's because some of it might just be as Richard said, that it's an injury issue. These players were injured, and you're kind of managing that because Ugarte did pick up an injury. Mainu did pick up injuries. So you're trying to manage that. But I don't know. Maybe it's for them. But yeah, he goes in the squad player, I guess. Rob's Ugarte squad player, but we need more from him. Mason Mount.
He's barely done anything, has he?
I mean, I still don't know why we signed him. I'll be honest, but does he?
Ruben Amorim seems to love him, doesn't he? Which I don't
Seems
get.
to
He
love
must
him.
do something amazing in training.
Everyone seems to love this guy. I don't. It's the ultimate hard work merchant.
Really,
I don't know.
You know the goal he scored against Leon. There was one where I think he controlled it really quickly, turned the defender and shot. That was really nice. And the other goal was really good. But apart from that, like long term, like I don't know, Mason Mount feels like he's just like one game away from being like finished completely with injuries. So it's just it feels too risky, doesn't it, to keep him? But can we sell him? I'm not sure. I think he's going to be a squad player. That's my guess. I don't think we can loan him either.
I'd want to sell him. I just the way he like. I like dribblers, right? Like the way this club signed Cunha, right? That's the kind of profile that should be in those 10s, I reckon. But then at the same time, you could say having someone that wants to keep it simple in Mount in a 10, and then someone that is more creative with Cunha could be a balance to have in the team. But I'd want to have 2 dribblers in the 10s. And yeah, but like I said before, like Mount's barely done anything to warrant being a squad player, because like the fitness that Rich was saying, he can't stay fit. So yeah, I'd sell.
Stephanie has a question. Question: in this 3-4-3 system, are the 2 central midfielders supposed to be box to box, just like the wing backs?
I'm confused with that. Because you got the 2 10s there; they're supposed to do a lot of the attack, and then the wing backs. But then there's only 2 midfielders. It seems like they're supposed to.
So here would be
quite a bit of running in there. There's a lot of gaps in midfield.
I always thought that the 2, one of them would be the more holding, and one of them would be more agile and join the attack. That was my understanding.
I think a lot's asked of them. Like a lot of athleticism is required. I think it's why Manu doesn't really suit our midfield at the moment. I think it's just asking stuff from players that we don't really have. I don't think we really have the right players necessarily. I think Agati might be the closest because he's able to cover the distance, but I think it's just our midfield's not really suited to that. Like Stephanie's saying, is it like some square pegs we're trying to put in some round holes? It looks like a lot's been asked of these players. Like, if they're asking them to go forward a lot, Agati isn't that guy. Like, staying back and protecting the defense is more Agate's system. It's
what, like, I think it would be good if Amorim could evolve as a manager and try and adapt some of these positions, because the 3-man midfield, you know how like a lot of midfielders are like the 2 holding midfielders and then they attack in mid, or 1 holding midfielder and then the 2 8s. I just don't think the 2, unless you get the right profile in, but I can't even think of proper ball carrying midfielders that are like at the top of the game that Man United could get. Like, unless you have those kind of profiles, like, it's just going to be loads of gaps, isn't it? Because Casemiro can't run, and Ugarte can't really progress the ball. So
you saw it the first couple of games though, when Ruben Amorim's looking at from the touchline and shouting to Casemiro to move further up the pitch. Casemiro didn't want to do it because he knows he can't get back. So Ruben Amorim wants them to bomb forward, and Casemiro knows if he does, if we lose the ball, he has got no chance of recovering. So that just shows, I think, he wants things that these players aren't capable of. And like Eddie's saying, he should have tried to adapt a bit more over the season until we get those players in, because otherwise it's just not going to work very well.
I mean, I don't know whether he did that deliberately, because he was just almost trying to say, "Listen, this is the situation. You brought me in at this time. I'm not going to be able to handle this. So this is why." Basically, I don't know. So I suspect that we're putting, just for time, Mason Mount in the squad category. Another controversial one, Manu.
Oh, sorry, RDS, I've got to leave after
We have to go. You have to head off. Okay, thanks for coming on, Eddie. And guys, make sure you subscribe to Eddie Football Waffles channel. Make sure you check his channel out. Eddie, thank you so much for your time. Sorry it's overrun a little bit. I apologize.
Good to speak to you, Eddie. It's been a while, but it's good to catch up.
I think I've only been on like one show with you on your channel like ages ago, but yeah, it was good to.
I know you're welcome back, Eddie. You're welcome back. I'll get in touch.
On Twitter anyway. We'll talk then. RDS. Thanks again, mate.
No
and
worries,
everyone in
man.
the comments, they've been really interactive. So hopefully they keep interacting and hitting the like. And yeah, subscribe to Eddie's Football Waffle if you want to see animation coming out too for the football. So thanks again, guys.
Appreciate it, Eddie. Take it. Peace.
Right.
So where are we now? So Mainu, Rich. Is there? I mean, I would like to put into squad, but I mean, is there even a place for him at this point? I mean, is he now going to be in the selling category?
Yeah, I would probably not sell Mainu. I'm going to say I'm not going to sell Mainu this year. I just want to see more. This season, it's been 3 different managers, a few injuries, and Mainu. I thought Mainu was so good last season, and then he steps every single level he stepped up to. I thought he dealt with it really well. Plays for England, does really well in the Euros. I would give him more time and say that I wouldn't sell him because I think selling him could potentially be a mistake. I think he hasn't really. I don't think we've got enough evidence to say whether we keep him or not. And there's a lot of other players that are going to be sold. I would give Mainu next season. I think it's a big season next season, but I would give him next season to see if it works. If it doesn't next season, I think he's gone. But I would be reluctant to sell him this season.
Mainu needs an injury-free season to decide. I mean, it's like Rich said. I mean, I think a lot was expected of Mainu this season. In the previous season, I think that when he would come out, I think he was injured at the beginning of the season and then came back towards the middle to latter part of the season. So yeah, injuries are a thing, but he is still young. But yeah, I just think that, like Richard said, especially with a lot of these young players, if we're going to sell them, at least, much like with it's the case in point is Alvaro, who we sold to Benfica, who now Real Madrid are about to give Benfica 50 million for. Now we put a buyback, we put a sell-on clause in, which is what we should do. But I just think that if we are going to sell a lot of these young players, they need to have some sort of sell-on clause, buyback clause, or something, because the potential is there. And with something like Mainu, I could easily see if he was in a more possessive Pep type sort of system, he would end up flourishing and could be seen as a. I don't want it to be a situation where you see Mainu at a team like City or some of a possession-based team, and now he ends up looking like £100 million player in about a few years' time.
He has a high ceiling. I think that's why I'd keep him and see what he does over a whole season, and then we got a bit more to assess him on.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Let's move into quickly squad. I'll try and be good because it's late as well. So, Anthony, I mean, we presume we've got to sell him. I mean, he's
sold, isn't he?
Although what I would
really
say,
well though,
he has, and I think that should suit us in terms of recuperating some of the money back, because not just Real Betis, but I'm sure a lot of other teams have seen what Anthony has done and have gone like, oh, so it's not that Anthony's a bad player. It's just that Manchester United is crap. So I hope that means that we can get a little bit of competition for him in terms of, if we could get
a few teams. I'm sure, like Real Betis, I think Villarreal and Atletico Madrid. I think there's like a few teams interested. So, and fair play to Anthony. Like a loan deal from January, he's got 9 goals, hasn't he? And that's good. That puts him in the window. It works well in Spain. Gets the money in. It might be. I don't know how much we'll get, but it's still going to be a good move for us. I think.
I think we could get 40 million for the guy. He's not that old yet. They've obviously seen what he can do because he's demonstrating mobility, especially if he does something in the final, which will be which is tomorrow, which will be the biggest advertisement for it. I think 40 million for him, even though that's obviously a lot less than we paid, we'll take a massive loss. But 40 mil, I think, for him, probably, I think we could probably get something like that. I'd like to think we could get something like that.
That's good. A good return, isn't it?
And he seems to, at least the impression I'm getting, because he seems to want to go and want to leave. I don't think he'll mind taking a wage cut. I think he probably wants to leave Manchester United as well. So
I think he's looking long term, isn't he? I think Anthony will look long term and think a little wage cut initially to get a more successful playing career makes sense. You can't put a price on like enjoying your football. I think at that stage in his career, and he looks happy. So
Exactly. So let's put Anthony in the sell category. There's not many people in the Shaw. I'm gonna, whether you agree or not, I'm gonna put him Shaw in the sell category, man. The guy needs to go. Injury prone, and then when he comes back, I mean, when he came back this time, Shaw was awful. Shaw was so bad. For me, it's only a matter of time before he gets injured for most of the season again. There was a time, I think, was it the second Ollie season when he had a really, really good season, and I thought he'd come back, but nah. For me, you can even make a case that he cost us that final. I know Onana died, and we can sort of say that. So, but I generally don't know what Shaw was doing. It's like, yeah, as he talks a good game, but that's it. Since he's come back, I can't think of a single performance he had that I would say that was good.
No,
stood out.
He's been like poor since he came back, which is why it was a bit shocking to see him starting the game against Spurs, because he'd come on as a sub, and I think he might have started the odd game. But I just thought his performances was low, like pretty low level. And I thought he was actually, yeah, in terms of thinking like, is he going to get a few games to force his way back into the team? And I thought on form, no, he wasn't been good enough. And then he got the final. I think that was an incorrect decision. I was actually going to say something a bit different to you. I said this to myself after the match, and I was a bit angry with the match. But I said I'd never want to see Luke Shaw in a Manchester United shirt again. So I was agreeing with you. I was actually thinking, because of the injury issues, I was thinking, is this one where he just gets a loan somewhere for the rest of his contract? Because I don't know if we can sell him. I would definitely
Yeah.
sell him, but I was wondering whether his salary is so. I got to this stage where I was saying, look, I don't want a transfer fee. If we have to pay some of his salary he needs to move on. Like for me, just to be like, he shouldn't be part of the team anymore. It sounds harsh, doesn't it? But it just annoyed me that he's not contributing. He's not going to leave. We can't sell him really.
No. I mean, yeah. Who does he go? Does he go on loan? If he's going to probably go, like if he's going to go, no, maybe go to Italy. So I know that big up Conte, man. Conte likes taking ex-United players. So if
Probably get to Champions League final, won't he?
yeah, no, exactly. So, but yeah, either some club in Italy. But if we loan him in Italy, we're gonna have to cover his wages. I was thinking, he's certainly a player that could almost like a Wan-Bissaka that who would fit in this system. Funny enough, he would maybe like a West Ham type of player as well. West Ham could potentially, I don't know. But you're right.
Just move him on wherever.
Yeah. It's what I mean. Yeah, excellent when fully fit. I mean, is he? I'm at the point now where because I know we say always really good when he's fully fit. So, but to be honest, I just don't think that's good enough anymore. Like he's like even if he's excellent when he's fit, but that excellence is only 1 or 2 games a season, then is it really excellent? Like because you'd rather have someone who's average, but is at least average for like 10 or 15 games of the season than someone who's just excellent for 2 games and then is just either crap or not available for the rest, especially given that he's on 200 plus K a week, so yeah, man, I'm gonna put Shaw in the sell category, man. Just leave him there. Evans obviously is left. Bainde as a backup choice.
I think he's gone. I think Binder's. He wants, like you said earlier in the stream, World Cup year. I'm pretty sure Binder's gone, and it's not going to be much money.
Yeah, I think he'll. I mean, I don't know whether he's because remind me, is he Turkey's number 1? I think he's Turkey's number 1.
I think so. I think it's like
so.
It was in the Euros, wasn't he? He had that error where he ran out of goal. He must have learned that from Onana.
Yeah. What is this with getting got error? It's funny. We were saying, a lot of fans were saying, he wanted Emi Martinez, and then he made that stupid mistake to cost his team the Champions League. So
no, just do that. Emi Martinez, I can't go there.
Yeah,
just probably ran straight into Holland. Does that count as an assist for Holland? It's the best thing he's done for a few games.
Probably. I mean, it was. I think before that goal was before that red card. Was it afterwards? He was offside. I think was one of those goals. So it was just. Yeah.
What made me feel sorry for Ruben Amorim this season was Anana's made a number of errors, and then the first game we saw Binder was against Spurs, and he had a monumental disaster in that game. And I just sat here thinking, do you remember we used to have Romero as a backup to David De Gea, and we were like, Romero should get more games. He's like quality goalkeeper, and now we got these two guys, and Romero must be thinking,
yeah,
it's a
how
joke,
did I mean, Romero is better than both of these dons.
No, that's
the scary thing. Like if people would say like, oh, keep wise, like Romero is way better than these dons, you know. So obviously he's God, but yeah, it's he needs to go. Short Spurs losing finals, he does. I'll try and be quicker. So this sell category is getting Xerxes. Xerxes is an interesting one because if we sign a lot of strikers, will he get game time? But then I don't really, in my opinion, want to sell the guy. So I don't know whether he's the one of the few players that could potentially benefit from a loan if he's not going to get the game time, if we do bring in a lot of strikers, or whether he's just a squad player.
Yeah, I could see him as a potential squad player next season. I think it's like one of these players where the last couple of months he looked better than the first few months in the Premier League, and then he got injured as he was looking like a useful player, then got injured. I would probably keep him as a squad option just because we got like the sell category so big. I think we're going to need some players, and it might depend on what we get. I would keep him as a squad player. I think he improved over the season. I don't think it's that he was bad to start with. I think the Premier League takes a bit of getting used to when you're used to playing at a different league, and I think he just got used to it. He looked really slow, didn't he? And I think it's just you didn't get used to the pace. A bit like Everett when he first came, he was just like, "Whoa, this is like ridiculously fast." So I'd keep him for now.
I mean, definitely most of them improved. He definitely offered more than Højlund had up front. I know there are a lot of people that said, "Oh, you know, they're the same, they're not really scoring." So, but
they're quite different players, aren't they?
They're
quite different. Xerxes actually maybe his best game was against Arsenal in the cup, where he saw his strengths, and he was quite good at. He actually, in terms of what Amorim likes in running, progressing with the ball, Xerxes was actually quite good in the build-up play. So I think there's a place for him.
No doubt about that. So I'll put Xerxes into squad here. Højlund. So speaking of Højlund, what is going to happen to Rasmus? I mean, is he? Are we? I don't think we're going to sell Rasmus. I don't think.
Do you know what I think of Rasmus? You know the financial fair play rules regarding how much you can sell players for and how much counts as a loss. I think we loan him with either an option or obligation to buy. I think it's a loan deal, and then we get a fee later. I don't think we keep him at the club because looking at Ruben Amorim, I don't think that based on this season, I don't think we see improvement over next year either. So I don't think there's enough to work with in terms of thinking he should be a backup option. I think he's going to be. I would say loan would be my bet.
Yeah, So just something. Ironically, if Xerxes and one were front two of proper wingers feeding them, they might do well. I mean, there's a case for that. Yeah, I just don't see. I don't think we're going to sell him. As you said with the financial fair play rules, he's obviously not untouchable. But if we do get strikers in, and hopefully we do, he's not going to start. I do think we need to get two strikers. So I wouldn't want a situation where we get one striker and Højlund is backup. I just think that
that's what someone said to me. Said, "Is he going to be backup?" Because I think no, because he's not good enough. When you know someone's clearly not good enough to start, then being a backup is effectively being a starter in some matches, isn't it? So for me, it's a no.
Exactly, because then that player that starter gets injured and suddenly he leaves the line again. You're like, no. He's not good enough to be. I'd rather Cheeto get some sort of Chido, but Martin gets some. I'm not saying he's but potentially there is something there if you're going to have as a backup. I think we should get 2 strikers. Hoyland needs a loan, so we'll put him on loan. Lindelof has obviously left. Forgot about Malacia. Malacia is still the club. Yeah, I mean he's going to be sold, isn't he? I would imagine. I mean, I don't know.
I think he's almost gone, isn't he? I think he's not going to cost much. I thought he was sold. Maybe he's not. I'm not sure.
I think he went out on loan. I think he went out on loan.
Didn't he win? He won the league, didn't he? Did he win the league with? Is it PSV he went to? Let me just double check. I thought he won a league title. PSV Eindhoven went to. So I think he'd probably get sold for not a lot of money, but it's still a bit of money.
Yeah, probably back to the Dutch league. Yeah, I think that's what will happen. So let's put in sell. This sell. I can't remember the last time there was a sell players and that was this long. Who's this again? I'm just trying to remember. Why have I got this player?
Is that a mass?
It is a mass. Of course, it's a mass. I don't have Toby Collier there, so that's not him. But a mass is a loan or squad. Loan, I think.
I think loan.
I don't know. Yeah, I think there's potential there, but he needs game time, and I don't think he's going to get that. I actually thought he was going to get a lot more game time this season than he did. I thought he might be, because usually United have that breakout academy player, and I thought that it was either going to be him or Collier that were going to do that. Collier was actually doing well. Obviously, he got injured, and Amas just kind of floated around. Really, and I don't think he really got opportunities. So,
I think if you watch the. Okay, it's only one incident and it's like one game. But if you watch I'm trying to think, what was one of our last games? It was West Ham, wasn't it? West Ham, one of their goals, Amas is trying to mark. It might be Souček or but somebody like physicality wise, they just move Amas off the ball and it's a bit easy. And I think Amas needs to bulk up a little bit. But I think it's just a bit. I think it's too much of a jump into the first team, and we're going to be playing fewer games. So I'd look at a serious loan and try and get him some games, because he could still have a future. It's just we don't know what level at the moment.
Okay. Fabrizio's posted an update about Marcus Rashford available for 40 million, as I said, and Barcelona remain among clubs informed on the situation. And that's all he said. So it looks like it'll be one of those watch and see type things. So we'll put a mass in the loan. Maguire, I think Maguire's probably in a squad, isn't he?
I think he has to be probably at the moment. Like Evans leaving, Lindelof leaving. Yeah, not so many options. Need a bit of cover as well. I think he's quite a good cover for De Ligt, because De Ligt has the injury issues.
No, I don't disagree. I think fair play to Maguire. And also, he does seem to be adopting
a backup striker shouts for Maguire.
Role, exactly. So
do you know what I saw actually? Yeah. Jokes aside, Harry Maguire's actually got some decent wing play. We've seen a bit as well, and I was
when I saw that when he did that at Bilbao, I was like, what? Like it was
not bad, was it? It was better than Dalot.
It's probably one of the best wing play I've seen for a United player this season. So he is a man of many talents, and
he's an option, isn't he?
It'll definitely be very interesting. But yeah, and fair play to him at the end of the day, because he's gotten a lot of hate and stick. It could just be with where United are this season. So, but I certainly still thought that he was one of the few players that at least tried to step up this season to what we did. So yeah, I think, am I fair to say to put Euro in untouchable? Because I think I just see him. I know Heaven isn't here, and Heaven and Colin here, but I do see Euro with, obviously, if he can stay fit, as potentially one of our main centre backs for the long term, because his performances, certainly in the latter games, even the goal that we conceded or the goal that against, it wasn't his fault. There is, there is really, it's a really good. if we somehow fix ourselves, this is the type of centre back that could be worth, 90 million, 80, 90 million in the future.
Yeah, he's top quality, isn't he? I think with if you look at the game, it might have been against Lyon, when he starts running with the ball in midfield, like ball progression, really good, speed, and
Yes.
actually there's probably like at least over the course of the season a few last-ditch tackles where he's won, and I haven't seen him miss time one yet, where it's one where you think the striker's about to score, it's in the penalty area, and he's done a ridiculous tackle a few times, and I think that's really good. But I think for me, it was against Lyon where he's running towards the box and he picks out the right pass. It results in the goal. I was like, this guy's different class. So I think he's untouchable, and I think potentially he's going to get better. Potentially one of our best players of the future.
And yeah, I mean, as Lucky Singh said, Hayden, Heaven, Lenny, you're Ahmad, untouchable at the moment. Yeah, I mean, certainly, certainly, I agree. I certainly agree with that. I just think that the only issue, like I said, with Europe with me is just the injury situation. I think and also you've got to remember the guy's only. I keep remembering he's only 19 years old. He's only 19 years old, so centre backs tend to peak a lot later than other positions. So we're talking 25, 26, 27 type of thing. So he's not even really in the peak of where he should be, if that makes any sense. So
no, he's got a lot of good stuff. I think the one thing we saw this season was against Southampton. There's been games where very pacey players running at him have been a problem, but I think he's just got better over. There's been a few bumps in the road, but the trajectory's always been up pretty much. It's always been like more experience. I think some things like positional sense or these things come with experience, don't they? But I think the basics, really good on the ball, good passer, good tackler. He's a really good signing, like really good player. So I'm glad we got him.
No, I agree. Right, I think that's everyone, and we're 1:37. I think we're going to round up because it's getting late in the UK, as you can imagine. Rich, thank you so much for coming on. Rich, do you want to just big up your channel, where people can find you, socials, all the rest of it, and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think the easiest place is Red Devil United. To type that into YouTube, you'll find daily Manchester United content, looking at the moment lots of news and looking towards pre-season transfer stuff, that sort of like any news stories. And I think on Twitter as well, if you look for Red Devil United, that you'll find us as well. And I don't know if you got a link on your video, but people can find it, and hopefully check in. We're trying to do regular sort of streams because there's lots of Manchester United news, and yeah, it's a good community. So hopefully get involved. Make sure you subscribe to Red Devil Studio as well, and Eddie as well. It's good to be on a podcast with lots of other good Manchester United channels. So yeah, get involved, and thanks everyone for watching as well tonight. And I say, as a streamer myself, it's always really good when people get involved in the discussion, because like you've got your view, G, Eddie's got his view, I've got my view. We agree on a lot of things, but there's always like a few things where people have like a few different views. But I think get involved, and hopefully see some of you guys in the comments, and hopefully keep in contact, G, and we'll do some collaboration in the future at some point.
Absolutely. And like I said, guys, obviously, I can't stress. See, Rich is a good friend. He's got a lot of good content on his channel on Red Devil United. Make sure you search it on YouTube. He streams a lot as well. We want to get him to 5K as well. So really hard worker, really good content, really good community as well. Discussing Manchester United, not with the sort of not an angry, reactive sort of community, but one that's very engaging. So for those who are watching, make sure that you head over there, subscribe to the channel, get them to 5K subscribers as well, and help them to grow as well. But thanks everyone for obviously joining in the chat as well. Lucky, Rob, Stephanie, Rajat, who was here, Matty, and a few others as well, and obviously Eddie come and chat. We really appreciate your time. Remember, again, if you're into the channel and you're watching back, like, share, and subscribe to Red Devil Studio. Follow us on Twitter, Red Devil Studio X. Follow us on Twitch as well. Have a nice day, guys, and cheers. Peace.